am Joe Rosen, and I want you to please tune into the Keith Andrews Network. He does a really great thing by interviewing a whole lot of people in the industry, entertainment industry. Very great guy, and I hope he keeps it up for a long, long time.
Dawn Grabowski, and I was just interviewed by the Keith Anderson Network, as you can see behind me, and I had the pleasure of being on the show with Joe Rosen, and I was interviewed by Keith Andrew himself.
The whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. So prove to them because they'll amount to something. So hashtag break the labels. So that being said, it's a real honor, privilege having you on the show as the first time. Joe, this is the second time. So with that being said, first question I want to ask both of you is tell our audience a little bit about yourselves and how you get to do the work you do now. Joe, we're going to start off with you.
First of all, thanks for having me back, Keith. It really is really nice to be back again. I'm Joe Rosen. I'm an actor as well as a model. I also do brand ambassador work as well. And I also do art modeling too.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dawn, what about yourself?
Thank you for inviting me to be on your show today. Yes, I'm an actor primarily, but by being an actor and being in town for a couple decades now, I'm a true hyphenate. I'm a writer. I am a content creator. I am a filmmaker. I am a producer. I'm a voiceover artist, and I'm also a sit-down comic because I'm not qualified to stand.
Well, I sit down when I do my talk show, so I guess I'm a sit-down talk show host.
Well, if your guests can see in the back, you'll see a flying wheelchair over the Hollywood Hills, and it's very clear that I have a disability, but I consider my disability being flat-chested in Hollywood, and spastic cerebral palsy is nothing compared to that.
No, absolutely, and so we're going to start off with with you on the first question. You know, because you mentioned your disabilities more, people can see it. And if you look at someone like me, Mike, if you didn't say you had a disability, no one will really know. Now, just because, someone's in a wheelchair doesn't mean they have a learning disability. They could have been in a horrible car accident, or they could have been, broken a leg. But the question I want to ask you is, have you, when you've gone for a distance, have you ever been sized up, number one, and have you ever been labeled?
Oh, absolutely. Pretty much every day in my life that I leave my apartment, and every day since I've been born, people have a tendency to label individuals, whether it's in a disability way or not in a disability way. And my point has always been, labeling is for jars and not for people. If you're going to label me anything, please label me talented, because I'm damn good at what I do.
No, absolutely. What about you, Joe?
Well, yeah, as well. Believe it or not, I do suffer from OCD, and as well as depression, which is another reason why I'm always tired looking. But yeah, I used to work with people in a place called Lake County Center for Independent Living. And it was great to work with people who with and for disabilities, and there's also other people who had them. And I also get to see and firsthand what it was like for them, their struggles throughout life. And the thing is that, whether you might know somebody might have a disability or not, whether it be in a wheelchair or somebody with OCD or ADD, we're all people and we all bleed red blood, and I don't know why people treat others differently because of the same reason. I mean, it really was a real good feeling to be able to work with them and see their own struggles too.
No, absolutely. I've been in a couple of workplaces where someone who was in a wheelchair, and they hired him knowing that he couldn't stand because, oxymoron, he was in a wheelchair. But they gave him a hard time because he was a greeter. And he's like, well, one of the job requirements is for being a greeter is standing and climbing ladders. And I was like, standing and climbing ladders, he's in a freaking wheelchair. How is someone gonna, how is he gonna climb that ladder? Now, unless this is gonna be a circus act, that would be pretty interesting, but it's kind of like, I know for me, a lot of people like, use common sense before you open your mouth, but it's kind of like the level of stupidity and ignorance. It's kind of like, what's going on here?
Well, it also brings up another point, if I can chime in here for a second. That seems like that would be a reasonable accommodations, and according to the Americans with Disabilities Act, whatever that company is, they should take a good look at the law as it's written, because there's no reason that somebody can't be a greeter and do it from a seating position, because all the stores, if it's a store, it's like, hello, welcome to the store, we're glad you're here. Let us know if you need anything while you're shopping. There's, I don't know what other requirements were for climbing a ladder, involve climbing a ladder, but that just seems like somebody in a wheelchair that's not able to climb a ladder, or somebody that can't climb a ladder as easily. That would seem like that would be a reasonable accommodation.
Yes, I climb a ladder. I never heard of any greeter needing to climb a ladder before, unless I was just BS. But I was at the local Walrus Mart, or the Walmart. I call it the Walrus Mart for a joke of mine. You ever been there at 2 o'clock in the morning? You'll understand. Anyway, I've seen greeters there with chairs recently. They're sitting down. There's no reason why the greeter can't still do that. Who cares if they're in a wheelchair? They could do that same job.
No, absolutely. And that's the biggest thing, is people get this stagnant, this look. I'll give you an example. I went for an interview, and you know how you meet someone, you have the first 10 seconds to make an impression? Well, pretty much as soon as this woman looked at me, she had me sized up.
You also don't really have anybody there to really cheer you on. You get labeled right away because you know these people for 12 years. And you just can't see any of them after a while. But after working at my gym, somebody walked in, and they used to be a model long ago when they lived in Poland. They took me over to sign up, and I started doing classes, and then right away I got my first acting gig and first couple modeling gigs right away as well. The only regret I have was not doing it earlier on, but I wouldn't trade it for anything else at all. And I've been doing it for 3 years now. Been doing something I never thought I'd be doing. Never thought I would think I could ever do. And I really do like entertaining. I had a lot of people who would say, like, how come you always act like you're on, like you're doing? Because I always like to write my own bits for stand up as well, but I haven't really gone on stage to do any of that stuff. Like, it's not that I like being on. I just like performing. It's like a high. It's better than any kind of drug there is. The only downer part is that it doesn't last so long, so I like to try and keep up as best I can.
No, that's the same thing. How I feel about my talk show. I want to do this until the day I die. I do it day in, day out, and I agree with you. It is kind of like a high, but it's exciting because you don't know who you're going to meet. You're making a new friend. You're getting yourself out there, and it's really exciting, saying you don't know the possibilities, and that are endless. But I do want to say one thing. My friend Rick Signoff, he wasn't in the Army. He's in the Marines. So I do want to clarify that. But he will join us when he's able to. But the next one I want to ask both of you is, what are you both most likely to become famous for? And Dawn, I will ask you this one.
That's a tough question. My definition of fame has changed a lot over the years, especially as I continue to work in the entertainment industry. I am more concerned about doing great work and hopefully working consistently, which is my intention when I go out. So I'm not in it for to be quote unquote famous. That's not that. I'm not going to lie. The money and some of the perks would be nice, but that's not why I do what I do. I do what I do because I feel like I need to be I need to be creative to be able to breathe. So that's just who I am. My main focuses are acting and sit down comedy. But like I said, over the years, I've had to branch out because I started writing to create in an effort to create paid work for myself and get my name out there and my face out there. So it could be my acting, it could be my comedy, or it could be my writing, because it all kind of melds together after a while. If you want to be creative and you realize that in any career, life is in life and in any career, if you really want to be successful at it, in my humble opinion, it's a marathon and not a sprint. So you have to change with the times, and with the state of the world being the way it is, things like that happen.
Like the phone ringing.
Yeah. Avon's calling.
What about you, Joe?
Well, I don't know if I would ever be famous or anything like that. I just hope that what I do is people really do enjoy it and they want to see more. That's all. That's one thing I really enjoy. I mean, the fan base, that's great too. You know, it could be thousands or just that one really diehard fan. To me, it makes all the stress, the hard work, all the disappointments, all worth it just to have that one person really enjoy something that you did, and to be able to touch their lives appropriately, of course. You know, joke of mine again. You know, and just to make them seem smart. I like doing that, or like taking on a role and making people feel things where they make them laugh or cry, or just be entertained for however long that they're watching, for how long the show goes for too.
No,
That's just I just really like doing that. And if I do get famous, I just hope they got something that's really good and not terrible.
no,
As in like, as in not terrible, as in not something I did, but something that's really like I shouldn't have done that. You know.
No, I agree. Now, the next question I want to ask you is looking for a good one. It's what's your greatest accomplishments? You know, everyone, Joe, while we're still with you, what is your greatest accomplishments? Because you're an actor, you're a voiceover professional, you know, you probably do narrating because that's part of the voiceovers. You're a model. You know, you've done so many great things in your career. So out of all of it, what is your greatest accomplishment?
Well, thanks, Keith. That was really nice of you. I would say probably still in it, or maybe the next greatest accomplishment would be the next one. You know, it's hard to pick one that I've already done, and I'll have particular favorites. But I would probably just say I know it's the generic answer, but it is the next one because to me it's a great accomplishment to even just to do it again. That's why. Like, oh wow, I get to perform again. I'm really happy about that. Regardless of what it is I'm doing, if I'm just there for an hour or half an hour, to me that's a great accomplishment. That somebody really wants me there to entertain them in whatever form or fashion that may be.
I agree. You know, we're all of us in the entertainment world. You know, it doesn't matter if you have 20 minutes, a half hour, an hour, whatever time you have. It's our responsibility to say, hey, you may have a crappy day. You may be going through a lot. But for that short period of time, we're here to help you sit back, enjoy it, even if it's something stupid. You know, just sit back, relax. It just make yourself say, you know what? I can't take everything too damn personally because at the end of the day, we live only once. And there's always that opportunity of saying, I'm going to sit back and watch this show. And for an example, anyone who watches KeithAndrewNetWork, I know nothing about it, but I will sit back and say for 20 minutes, I will tune everything out and forget all my problems and stories and give my mind a time to wonder. And now, Dawn, I'm looking at the picture behind you, and with everything that you accomplished, what is some of your greatest accomplishments?
I'm really proud of everything I've done, and I don't mean that in a cliche way, but when you look at, I'm coming up on my anniversary here on Saturday, and it will be a certain amount of years that I've lived in Hollywood, in Los Angeles, and the fact that I'm able to live independently and create 14 projects on my own dime, and the backdrops from my comedy show, open heart, flat chested, brass balls. That was my comedy show. So I'm really proud of that, because that was, I was on stage for close to 2 hours, and that was 5.5 years of comic material. I'm really proud of my current project that I'm working on, The Adventures of the Amazing Lady, which is half animation and half live action, with Cityberg Studios, because they're doing the animation and the editing. But I mean, just to be able to be creative during the coronavirus and being able to shelter at home and figure out a way to be able to film and still be able to be productive and creative, I'm really proud of that. But when I look back at the earlier parts of my career, I'm proud of those as well, because every step got me to where I am today. So every crutch step, every wheel step, every wheel, every movement got me to the part where I am today, because you have to start from the beginning.
Now, let me ask you this one, then we can go to Joe. Or this is for both of you. With everything, as I mentioned, if everything that you guys accomplished, do you have, and did you ever create for yourself any success stories? If someone would look at your career, and it could be multiple things, what is your biggest success story? And Dawn, I'm going to ask you.
Well, I think the average person would say my success stories are my mainstream credits. Working on To Tell the Truth, working on SWAT, working on ER, working on, a couple pilots that never made it. That's what working. My first movie was Jerry Maguire. So I mean, I have some mainstream credits, and I think the average person would look at that as successes. But I'm just as proud as Quest, my web series, because I acted, wrote, produced, financed it, and paid for it myself, and my feature film, Dangerous Perceptions, as I am the mainstream credits. And in some ways, I'm even more proud of the independent projects that I had, because I did them without the backing of a studio, and with just family and friends and in-kind donations, and figuring out how to shoot when you have $5 as opposed to 50,000 like Warner Brothers. That may not be accurate figures, but the point is, it's like, I don't have the budget of Warner Brothers. I can't do a Marvel movie. I would love to, but I can't do one on my own budget. So because of the budgetary restrictions and the fact that I'm by myself, that allows me sometimes to be more creative.
What about you, Joe?
Well, I would say one of the success stories for me is being able to prove that I can do the job. For anywhere, that is, because even when I was a kid, for some reason, even when I got to be an adult, a lot of people just look at me and I get misjudged for some reason right away, even before they even know who I am, and even before they know I'm just a person like they are, or even if I speak English or not. I don't know why. I guess I must have that thing. But another thing too is another reason why I'm pretty strict when I do this stuff is that I'm here to actually prove to you that I am the right person for the job. I am not somebody you might have thought something else. You are completely wrong about me. I can do the job, and I have done, and I'll do it again as well. All you gotta do is just give me a chance to show you. Get to know me first, just like we're doing it here today as well. That's why I don't ever believe judging book by its cover. You might not think this person looks like anybody you might hang out with or whatever, but go over and talk to that person. And then you'll know that maybe they're not so bad at all. They're actually a really great person, or somebody who might actually fit the bill for what you need. That's why, I try my best with auditions and do whatever. I don't always make it. That's okay. But I still keep trying. I ain't going to give up after the first no. If that was the case, it don't belong in this business. But to me, that's what the sixth story is for me. I have something to prove that I am a guy. Like in the modeling world, there are some guys out there, but it's a little more harder for a guy, in my experience. But when I have proven to people that, hey, I can do it, and I'm not just, some, dime a dozen guy, then they call me back. And they want me back, and it's always a great feeling being asked back.
Absolutely. Now, actually, this next one's just for you. With everything that you accomplish, what are some of the best voiceover acting roles you have ever done?
I've only done a couple of them. I will say, I've done one for. The title is really hard to pronounce. And it's on my credit. I forget. I can never pronounce how to pronounce this name, which is pretty bad for me. It was really the first time I really got to actually do it and hear myself. It was like independent animation by a young lady named Zoe. She's all by herself. She gets people to help her out with the voiceovers as well. It's great to lend her my voice. I record myself and I send my audio over to her. I don't even have to leave the house. It's so great. It's really fun to do. And this young lady has won so many awards, and it was so great to see that she's about a teenager. And it was great to work with a young, very talented and gifted young lady as well. To me, that's a success story to work with somebody who is getting better opportunities than what I've gotten and see her prosper.
Absolutely. And Dawn, the last question I want to ask you is, let's see, looking for there's so many. I'm not really good at reading a script. Usually I have like an index card and I'm like, okay, axe fast, and I damn make up the question in my head. I'm trying to get used to reading script, so that's why I'm looking down. Next season I may don't use a script, just come up. It's always good to be natural, but it's not about me, it's about you. But the question I want to ask you, with everything that you accomplished, what are you trying to achieve, and what are you trying to be are you trying to prove to people out there you can be a role model for people with and without disabilities? Are you trying to break the status quo? What are you trying to achieve?
Well, I think my job as an actress my mission actually has become more than just my acting. I believe that we need to educate people and realize that a leading lady can be more than just somebody that's a dress size of 2. We need to have more of the American scene. We need to have Joe and you and me and just every color of the rainbow and every ability and every disability on screen and in films and television and on streaming devices and in music videos and all forms of entertainment, because I just believe that it not only is it time, but I would like to see the world portrayed on the big screen and the small screen more like it is in the real world. And I think that's really important in terms of my acting. And I always, whenever I'm in a class or whenever I'm doing a career development type of situation or have an opportunity to speak, I tend to bring things like this up because, there's usually not, in most scripts, it doesn't say, we don't need to label everything in the script unless it's specifically an historical piece or something where we have to have that moment. This person has to be casted because it's a project about history or something like that. We can open up people's minds and open up people's hearts, in my humble opinion, to say, hey, just because that character's written like that, have you ever thought about hiring person of Asian descent? Or have you ever thought about hiring somebody that may be amputee, or somebody that may have a learning difference, or something like that? Just, you bring that up to the writer, you bring that up to the creators whenever you can, without losing the opportunity for the job for yourself, but just to make them aware that there are lots of talented people out there, and they're not always, quote unquote, leading lady types or leading man types. We're changing that image, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joe, with the last 2 minutes, and I'll pass it over to you. You can just do the same exact question that I asked.
Well, I kind of actually agree with Dawn. There's really nowhere for me to really go. She pretty much said it all.
All right. So I do have a couple questions for both of you. But the first one is, Joe, when I first reached out to you about being a guest on my talk show, what made you say yes? How do you feel now? And would you like to be back on?
Well, I feel pretty good. I was like, oh wow, Keith wants me back. I thought it was like a one and done, honest to God. And like, oh yeah, I was actually getting in the middle of doing some kind of other submissions right now for something else. Believe it or not, that's why I look like this. But yeah, I'll go right on there. I was really happy about it. I do hope to have you come back a third time as well.
No, absolutely.
And I hope I have more stuff. And I hope I have more stuff to tell you too.
No, I agree. What about you, Don? When I first approached you about being a guest, how do you feel, and would you recommend it to other people?
Oh, I would always recommend doing an interview with you or anyone else, because I just think it's wonderful to get your face out there, to get your name out there, and also to practice your interviewing skills, because we all hope to be climb the career ladder more and more. So it's more tools in the toolbox, so we say. And in terms of you asking me, I'm very appreciative and grateful for the opportunity, and I'm glad that we were finally able to connect. And I realize that this time of the day tends to be when all the salespeople call, so that's the next time I'll have to take that into consideration. But it was lovely to talk to you, and it was wonderful to be on the screen with Joe, because I had never met Joe before, and it was just a great opportunity and a wonderful way to start my weekend. Thank you so much.
Well, absolutely. I have a couple questions for you guys off the air. But wrapping up, everyone make sure to like and subscribe to the Keith Andrew Network. We're available on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and all social medias. And until we meet again, catch you later. Thank you, and have a good night.